Dr. Denise Ejo, the CEO of Cornwall Cancer Foundation. I would like to welcome you to our Cornwall Cancer Foundation page. Our goal is to create an awareness of the challenges, support and guidance experienced in managing cancer care for sufferers, family, carers and friends. To engage with us, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, click our notification bell.
This foundation every fortnight, the founder of Cornwall Cancer Foundation, Dr. Denise Ejo, will be discussing the support experience of cancer survivors with a cancer survivor, William Singh, and a relative of a cancer survivor, Kami Ukukbe. Dr. Ejo, it's good to see you this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Looking all bright and beautiful as usual.
Wishful thinking, right?
All right. Dr. Ejo, very interesting topic you have this morning. And even though we know that cancer is not fun, but it's good to know that people do survive it. And we look forward to hearing, you know, what your survivors have to say, the information they have, and what the families go through when they have a member of theirs who has to fight cancer.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers, and thank you for joining us on Kakaki's Cancer Awareness segment. It's very nice to have you on air. And today we have got two different perspectives. We've got a perspective of, actually, we're three of us, because I can't exempt myself, can I? So let's go. We've got a cancer survivor, we've got a cancer survivor, we've got a child of a cancer survivor. Fantastic. This month is the National Cancer Survivors Month, and it was actually celebrated on the 5th of June. One of the big things about it for us who have gone through this journey or are going through this journey is that for every milestone we achieve, we actually have to celebrate it. And so Cancer Survivors Day is an awareness day where we raise information, share information about the experiences of cancer survivors. I want to welcome you all on. Thank you, AIT, for having us and sponsoring us. Today in the house, we have got Williamson Odwer, who is a sailor and an offshore worker. He was diagnosed with cancer, colon cancer to be precise, in 2016. At the time, it was at stage 2, and he had to have multiple surgeries to be able to keep it under control and eventually get through it and get past it. We have to recognize the fact that from his perspective, and I think from all of us who go through this journey, the journey that goes with it is very important. Also in the house we've got, and that is Williamson Odwer. Okay. He lives out in the shores of Calabar, I think, or that area. And then I've got Kami Ukukbe, who is our young cancer carer. She's a founder of an international cosmetic brand and certified HR professional. She's the first of 3 and was the carer for her own mother who went through breast cancer. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Smile now, it's not that bad.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's not that bad.
Oh, well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us this morning. So I'm going straight into the conversations, and I'm going to ask you guys different questions from your perspective. But let's start from understanding where you're coming from. So firstly, I'm going to ask you, Kami, can you please share your thoughts on how you were informed when your mom told you that she had cancer?
So in 2020, in the height of the pandemic, right, we had been battling the uncertainties that were coming with the lockdown and all of that. And this is just to sort of lay some backstory as to the mental state of everybody at the time. It was pretty uncertain times. And, I wasn't home because unfortunately I was locked down outside at work. And I got a call from my mom saying, she'd like me to come home because she had some news that she wanted to give to me, and it wasn't going to be the most pleasant. And so as soon as the lockdown was lifted, I rushed back home. And she told me she had been diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. And at the time, it felt like my entire world was crashing down because we had lost our dad a few years prior to that. And a year or so before that time, she was also battling hyperthyroidism. And we felt like we were just out of the woods with that. And then, boom, comes the diagnosis for breast cancer. So at the time, yes, it did feel like, it felt like it was a death sentence because, we had never had direct access or a direct relationship with anybody who had cancer or who was dealing with cancer or who knew what the journey was like. So, for us, it was a lot of emotions at the time, but it was mostly despair.
Interesting. Okay. Williamson, I think we're all going to come from this conversation in 3 different perspectives. I'm looking forward to it. All right, then. Williamson, can you help us? Can you share your thoughts on the same question? How did you feel? What went through your head?
What went through my head when I was told that I had cancer, it was like, this can't happen to me. Having a diagnosis that tells you you're cancer positive, and my world just got shattered. Cancer is the kind of thing you hear that happens to someone else. You watch it in the movies, you read it in the news, like, oh, some guy's got cancer. Yeah. But happening to you, it's something I didn't know how to handle it. It was like my sister said, a death sentence. All we know about cancer is like it's a terminal disease. And once you get diagnosed, kaput, you're finished, it's over, your life ends, But I got the diagnosis, and for the first 1 month, I wasn't myself, I was in a trance. I then got to the realization I had to fight it, I had to leave. I have a family, I have friends, I had to stay alive. And that's the whole thing about your mentality. Cancer is a fight. And when I got that diagnosis that said I was going to die, because that's what cancer means, I choose to live. And I've been fighting it, and I'm still here fighting it.
Thank you. Now, you see, it's very interesting because I also had that same experience. And I think we all seem to have shut down in different ways. First, to understand the reality of what the disease is and how to fight with the mental health. See, that's one of the things I think mental health on this journey is very important, because if we don't talk about it, it's not going to make a difference. Because I recall when I was told, I shut down. I didn't talk to anybody for a month. I refused to talk to anybody because all I didn't want to hear was why I was going to die or why it wasn't going to work. And even as I'm talking to you, I've just had my chemo 2 minutes ago before I came here. So it just shows you that we have to learn to fight the battles, right? We can't give up. Okay, so in that case, what was the role of family in supporting your regime? Now I'm going for that with you, William, because you are a survivor. So you went through the treatment.
I have a wonderful family. My family rose up, stood by me, gave me all the support I needed. My wife was always there. In fact, she had to take a leave of absence from work to come and stay and cater for me because, you're going to that helpless state that you are, nobody understands, but the family is all you have to stand in for you. And you now have to start thinking of, okay, treatment. You're going to start having to go to hospitals, doing a series of tests. You can't go alone. Someone has to drive you there. I had a younger brother that had to abandon his studies to come stay with me as well. And then the issue of funding. Cancer is not cheap. Cancer is an expensive disease to fight. If you are in Nigeria, nobody cares about you. You have to go for your MRI, your CT scan, colonoscopy, endoscopy. All this is money. And then, remember, you can no longer work. You stop earning. I was a contract staff. Sadly, most of our offshore jobs are contracts. That means once you don't get to work, income shuts down. what next? At this point, I have to thank my classmates, the 43rd course members of Nigerian Defense Academy. They all stood up to be counted. They gave me enormous support financially. That helped me because I dared to think if I did not have the financial support, I would have been history by now. And that's what most cancer patients face, financial support. We have a country that doesn't have anything in place for cancer patients. Cancer has assumed pandemic status. Over 70,000 Nigerians die annually from cancer. Why doesn't the government take a serious look at this? I mean, COVID-19, the whole world stood up, Nigerian government, everything. What's the statistic of death from COVID-19? Compare that to cancer. Why aren't we taking cancer seriously? Cancer is a problem that a lot of Nigerians are facing. And until we stand up and treat it as something that is an issue, Nigerians will continue to die. Every life matters. And you see, the thing about cancer, it doesn't check strata, poor, rich, middle class, anybody, cancer attacks. I mean, if someone had told me I'll have a cancer diagnosis, I would never have believed it. Why? I don't drink, I don't smoke, so you expect that, okay, I'm neat, I'm cool. But here I am, cancer dropped on my laps from God knows where. So, if you don't have a support system and you get attacked by cancer, write your will, you're gone.
We're not gone, we're still here, we're fighting.
Thank God you have a
We're still
system that
fighting.
supports you.
We're still fighting. We're still fighting. Everybody will fight. We'll keep fighting. The government is hearing us. We hope.
I hope they hear.
You see what when you just spoke now, it's the biggest heartbreak for most of us, especially if you look at the Nigerian space and the advocates in Nigeria. That is the biggest cry from the NGOs, and that is their cry out to the government to please help cancer patients because there's no money. And I am not yet able to understand that statement yet as to why we don't have access to medical. I don't know. I remember when I was first diagnosed in Lagos, I was given 3 weeks. I'm just about crossing 6 years, but I still live on chemo, and I know the cost of the chemo. And I can imagine if I didn't have it, I would not be here. So for a lot of people who can't access or have cocktail chemo or have whatever chemo, it's not actually good enough anymore. I think the government should start listening to us because we are actually crying out now. Kami, I'm going to ask you a question. How are you able to support your mother in remaining focused? Now, in this same conversation, you realize that when we're talking about how we have felt as the survivors, and the pay and the financial burdens, emotional burdens, you are coming from it from an emotional side. How did you help your mom remain focused? Because mental health is very big on this journey.
I think that one of the first things that was key for me was shielding her from an information overload. When you hear that you have cancer and you start to speak to people and you speak to your friends, you speak to family members, there tends to be an information overload, right? So you have people, and like they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. They mean well, but this information doesn't help you. I mean, I remember we had somebody who, every time she would speak to my mom on the phone, it would end in tears. For some reason, she meant well. I mean, she would try to, that was her way of giving support, but it always managed to end in tears. And so the first thing I did was cut off communication from that person, because I found that cancer is as much a mental fight as it is medical. If you give into sadness, if you give into the despair, I think that, there's a tendency for the disease to eat faster. So that really was one of the things that I was focused on. We were listening to her doctors and we were listening to her body, right? Because we had people who came at us with a lot of different diet regimens. Some people said, eat only carrots. But I mean, how realistic is it for one person to eat carrots the whole of their treatment cycle, right? So we had a lot of people who came to us with quite a volume of information. And I think that was really key for me, just making sure that, focus on your doctor and we're focusing on your body. And I think another thing was, when she started her chemo, her hair started to fall out. And my mom is she's a little on the vain side when it comes to her hair. And so she was, oh, my hair. And I'm like, you know what? Before everything falls out, we're going to shave our heads. So for me, it was more a means of taking back control from a situation that felt like it was taking everything from you and you had no control over what was going on. So I shaved my head, my mom shaved her head, and, you know, a lot of people thought that, oh, you know, Kami and her mom are doing their bestie thing again. They're rocking similar hairstyles. So it was really our own way of sort of trying to control the narrative. And I think that that's really key. It sort of helps to take away that feeling of helplessness, right? When you go on Google and you're seeing so many things and you're reading so many things, it tends to add to a feeling of wallowing, right? Oh, woe is me, how am I going to fight this? There's so much information telling me the opposite online. There's so many people talking about, oh, don't seek treatment, don't go to a hospital. I know a herbalist somewhere who does. If I give you this concoction and you drink it 3 times a day and drink it under sunlight and never under moonlight, it would work. You know, all of that information was coming at us at an alarming rate, right? So that really was one of the ways that my siblings and I helped to support her. We were very, very deliberate about the people we let into our space, the information that we had access to. We were deliberate about the voices that she was listening to. We tried to surround her, you know, with as much love and as much activities that she enjoyed doing. So, you know, she didn't have a lot of physical energy. She loves to sing. So my siblings were constantly singing. My brothers are instrumentalists. So we'd have like mini concerts in the house. One person is playing the keyboard, one person is playing the saxophone, just things like that constantly make sure that her spirits were lifted.
Thank you. Thank you for looking after. That's interesting because, you know, wow. Okay, let me keep going. In light of your experience, awareness, and I'm coming to Williamson on this one because now let's really go into what the issues are. We agree that it is pivotal, awareness, cancer awareness. What do you want to see going forward? Now, we're in a very interesting period in our country at the present time, and we need to bring cancer to the forefront. And that is going to be a key thing. And anybody that wants to talk about it, we're ready to talk about it. But nationally, we need to now talk about it. What do we want to agree? What do we want to see going forward from anybody who is a decision maker now, trying to be a decision maker in the future, that has to remember that cancer is not a respecter of any human being. And no matter how much money you have, it doesn't care. It will take you home. So if you don't do the right thing and make sure all of us can survive, you're going home with us. All right. I'm going to you now, Williamson, on this one.
Well, first off, like you said, cancer.
I think that's the blood now.
Cancer is respected of no person. The founder of Apple is a cancer victim. So it means everyone in government now could be attacked. I mean, I'm not wishing anybody bad, but the reality is this thing is upon us. It's a scourge, it's a pandemic. And until we sit up and look cancer in the face, then we're not ready to fight it. First off, awareness is key. I mean, for any disease, in fact, early detection is key. Just like every other disease, it gives you symptoms. I had early symptoms, but what happened to me? I was going around hospitals and I was diagnosed that I had ulcer. I thank my wife's auntie. She told me and insisted that I had to go to the teaching hospital at Idiaraba. That was where I met a consultant that carried out proper investigation. She first did an endoscopy that showed nothing. And later she insisted that I had to wait, and she did a colonoscopy before the tumor was detected. Now, what it means is that most of us have diagnosis and we don't know it's cancer. So we have to start putting all the symptoms out there, all the possible tests you could do. I mean, for colorectal cancer, the first thing I tell people, take time I mean, when you're having cramps, like I was always having cramps in my stomach. I'll be driving, I have severe cramps, I have to pack and let the pains go away. It got severe. I could not cope at work. I collapsed at work twice or thrice because I was having symptoms that doctors, I mean, you will believe your doctors, won't you? They told me it was ulcer until I got a proper diagnosis. So I also expect that at the stage we are in this country, those listening to us must have a cancer specialist hospital, a hospital dedicated to just treatment of cancer, dedicated to research on cancer, dedicated to training personnel to handle cancer. Cancer is not just any kind of disease. It's a disease. I mean, we look at HIV. HIV patients go to hospitals, they have antiretroviral drugs and stuff. Government subsidizes their treatment. What's happening to cancer? Why can't, I mean, once you are on the list that you have been diagnosed with cancer, then you have some subsidies for your treatment. I mean, MRI. We pay close to 150,000 to have MRI. Why can't it be subsidized for cancer patients? Why can't CT scan be subsidized? Why can't other stuff we do? Because with cancer, you do numerous tests. It's a day you can do 3 tests, and this is money. Why is there no subsidy for all of this? And that's what those, I mean, National Assembly, I don't wish anybody bad, but I would like to say, you know, you don't understand cancer until you're either suffering from it or you know someone that has suffered from cancer. That's when you understand what cancer is. You know, when most people, because I tell people, cancer patients are actively fighting cancer, fighting the disease that you know nothing about. I mean, look at you. Some minutes ago, you just came off your chemo. People don't understand that. They see you look healthy. They don't know the fight and the efforts that's going on behind for you to look this way. And that's what people need to understand. People need to study, hear. And I'm glad that we have this platform now to make our voice heard, that cancer is consuming Nigerians. And a lot of cancer cases are not reported. That's the sad thing. I mean, we have statistics that 70,000 die annually. And for that number to come means most cancer patients, it's when they're in stage 4 that they get the diagnosis. Of course, what happens in Nigeria, we self-diagnose. You go to a chemist somewhere and one ill-equipped guy tells you he wants to mix a bouquet of drugs for you. Or you have stomach ache. He doesn't know anything. And that's what happens to most guys in the rural areas. You go to a chemist, the guy gives you some concussion or some drugs like that, and you say, oh, the next thing they assume that that guy, witches in his village, killed him because there wasn't proper investigation.
Thank you for that. Kami, do you have anything to add?
I think that I would come more from an angle of the cancer victims themselves. In Nigeria, I found that we have such a strong culture of silence. Nobody says anything. You're dealing with something, but you want to keep it hush-hush. They're telling you, oh, don't tell your neighbor, don't tell your friend, but you never know, the person who you're not telling might also be going through something similar, right? And they maybe just need your story to be able to connect the dots, seek the help that they need to get, right? So I think that we need, first of all, need to sort of dismantle that culture of silence and that culture of victim shaming, because we have a lot of people who, you know, since my mom has been in remission, we've tried to reach out to as many cancer victims as we can. And we've seen quite a number of people who have their diagnosis, but are in some sort of denial because, oh, I don't want to lose a certain body part. Oh, my friend said, if I do this, I wouldn't be able to do X, Y, Z. You know, just things are just so many activities around victim shaming, right? Somebody's diagnosed with breast cancer and needs to have a mastectomy, but she doesn't want to do that because her friends have created a sort of stigma around cancer victims or around people with mastectomies. But you're choosing your life over your body, and you should be celebrated for that. It's not something that you should keep quiet. It's not something that you should hide and you know, run from. You're choosing your life over your body, and that's an amazing thing. I I really just think that, yes, as a people, we need to do better when it comes to stigmatization and victim shaming.
Thank you. That is actually one of the things I wanted to really hone on, and that is stigmatization. Unfortunately, there are two things that stand out, which is very sad, and it's two: stigmatization to cancer patients and religion. We run under religion, and it's what is killing. And it's heartbreaking that as a nation we are very educated, and yet we come across as not focusing on educating ourselves. Sorry, I'm a teacher, so you don't have to go back to the school side. But in looking at it from that perspective, it helps to make us understand that unless everybody starts to hear, cancer is not going to respect anybody, and we'll just sit down and watch ourselves dropping, and we'll say, if I had known will not solve your memory, your sadness, or will not take away the pain that you're going through. So as I'm drawing to the end of this now, I want to just say one thing. Can you give me, in one word, each of you, an improvement? One word. Kami, one word.
I would say that we need to understand that we cannot, God forbid, cancer away.
Thank you. And Williamson, one word.
Pray, but also listen to your doctors.
Thank you. I'd like to thank all of you, both of you, for joining us this morning. And to everyone watching on AIT, thank you, AIT, for giving us this platform to really talk about the experiences of cancer survivors and cancer patients across Nigeria. We really do hope that those of you going through it, this is Cancer Survivor Month. We want to celebrate you. We celebrate ourselves. For every day that we have life, we are very grateful. And for everybody that you know that is going through it, please give them a hug today. Give them a hug, love them, just be there for them. And remember that cancer is not a respecter of anybody. If you need help, always ask. You can always find us on Cornwood Cancer Foundation. We have on our website, we have a website, Instagram, social media, everything. You can find us there. And we look forward to next conversations again when we talk about our bodies again and cancer. Thank you very much for joining us. And thank you, both of you, for joining us today. AIT, we thank you for sponsoring this event. And we look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Ejo. Fantastic conversations this morning. And I also want to join you to say thank you to Kami and Williamson for the experiences that they shared and, just enlightening us on the best way. And Kami also for all the support that, she and her siblings gave to, their mom. It's really heartwarming to hear. Thank you, Dr. Ejo.
I hear the social hug, Dr. Ejo. This is a social hug.